Hello. Once again, I welcome you back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be looking at how to migrate MySQL database from on-premises to Aurora in AWS. Aurora is a relational database offering by AWS, and it is designed for performance optimization and cost effectiveness. So it is compatible with MySQL and it's also compatible with PostgreSQL. In one of our previous video, I explained how you can migrate your database from on-prem to the cloud using Microsoft Workbench. But in today's video, we are going to be migrating MySQL database from on-premises to AWS platform, but we are going to be using database migration service, which is another service that is offered by AWS. This is a very simple process and very effective, and that can help you to migrate your database from your on-premises data center onto AWS cloud. Now, before we go into the demonstration, let me quickly take you to the blackboard and explain what we want to do and how we are going to do it. So here is my blackboard. To migrate from an on-prem, so we have a database here, okay? We have my SQL database. We have my SQL database, which is on-premises, okay? On-premises database. And we want to migrate this database to AWS cloud. Okay, we want to migrate it to AWS cloud. What we have here is MySQL, and we are also migrating to Aurora. But the Aurora we are migrating to is the Aurora MySQL-Compatible. So that means technically we are migrating from MySQL on premises to MySQL in the cloud. So since we are migrating from MySQL to another MySQL, this type of migration is called homogeneous migration. Okay, it is called homogeneous migration because we are migrating from the same database engine to the same database engine. But in a case where, the example, you are migrating from MySQL database, let's say to an Oracle database. This is a different database engine, and we call this type of migration heterogeneous. Okay, we call it heterogeneous migration. Now, having understood this, so I'm just going to clean all this and I'm going to go ahead with my explanation. So what do we need? For us to migrate from MySQL on-prem to Aurora MySQL in AWS cloud, we need what is called DMS, which is what? Database Migration Service. So this DMS is the one that will migrate the data and schema from the MySQL on-prem to the AWS cloud. So this DMS is another service of AWS. Now, this is a case of a homogeneous migration. If it is an heterogeneous migration, when you are moving from MySQL to Oracle, in this case, they are going to be a different schema. That is, the schema is the orientation of the data in different database engine. So the way databases data are orientated in MySQL is different from that of Oracle. So we say they have different schemas. So if you are migrating from, let's say, MySQL to Oracle, in this case, we are going to need another tool called SCT. SCT is Schema Conversion Tool. Okay? Schema Conversion Tool. Because this schema and this schema are different. So we are going to need a schema conversion tool along with our DMS for us to be able to carry out this migration. And what happened is that the schema will convert this the SCT tool, which is schema conversion tool, will convert the schema from MySQL to Oracle, while DMS will will migrate the data. But in this case, the schema of MySQL and the schema of Aurora MySQL-Compatible are the same. Both of them has MySQL database. So in that case, we don't need to convert any schema, and so we are just only going to be working with DMS, which is database migration service. Now, for us to carry out this migration, we need three steps and items. One, we need what we call the source endpoint. We need the source endpoint. That is the endpoint to connect to our source migration, our source database. In this case, our source database is the on-prem. That is the first thing we need to do. And the second one, we are going to need the target database, the target endpoint, target endpoint. That is the endpoint of the database that you want to migrate to, which is in this case the Aurora database, which is in the cloud. Okay. And again, we are going to need something called replication instance. Replication instance, or sometimes it is called provisioned instance. In the new AWS console, it is called provision instance. And this is just like an engine. It's just like an EC2 machine, like a server that is working like that. Sometimes it is called a workhorse. It's the one that's going to do the job of moving the data from MySQL on-prem to Aurora in the cloud. So we need something called replication instance. So the first one, I'm going to refer on this. So we have the endpoint that connect to the source. We have another endpoint that connect to the target, and we have a replication instance that is going to do the actual job of migration. And finally, there's something we call tags. Okay, this replication tags is the one that will carry out the action. Okay, is the one that will carry out the action. So everything here is inside this data DMS. Everything we have mentioned here is present inside DMS. So what do we need? One, we need endpoint. Okay, we need endpoint, which is one. One is a source endpoint, and the other one is a target endpoint. After that, we need replication instance. We need replication instance, which is called the workhorse. okay, is the workhorse that is going to do the actual job. And then we have the tags, the replication tags. All of these three are present inside our DMS. Now, we are going to jump onto our AWS now, and I'm going to show you what I have provided to save our time, and then we are going to go ahead and carry out the demonstration. So I'm in my AWS Access portal, and I'm going to log in with the administrator access. And the first thing I'm going to do is to go to DMS. Okay, I will come here and type DMS, and it's going to show, and I'm just going to click on that, and it's going to take us to the database migration service. Now, there's a couple of YouTube videos here that can, help you to, get started with it. But I'll just click on getting started to show you what we need to do. So these are the actions or those those things that you can do with DMS. You can do data discovery and access. You can do convert or move to manage. You can do migrate or replicate. And that is exactly what we want to do. So I'm going to click on migrate or replicate. And if you scroll down, we have two options here. It's either you go with the provisioned or you go with the serverless. Okay, serverless, what are the difference? If you go with the provision, that means all these items that I've mentioned, the endpoint, the replication instance, and the tags, the replication tags, you are the one that will create all of these resources. But if you go with serverless, serverless has created the replication tags for you. So let's see, for example, now I click on provision. So you can see I'm going to be needing to create my endpoint. After that, I will need to create a replication instance. And after that, I'm going to create the tags. But if I switch to serverless, you will see now that the replication instance will no longer be available because that will be taken care by AWS. So if I click on serverless now, I will only be creating the endpoint and the tags. The replication instance, which is the server, will be handled by AWS. That is what is called serverless. So it does not actually mean there will be no server, but it's just mean that AWS will take care of the server. So having said that, what have I done up to this time? One, I have created our on-prem MySQL. So how do we do that? I'm going to go to my EC2 machine. This is EC2 here, and I'm going to click it on another tab. And in my EC2, I click on running instances, and there I have 3 instances that are running. One of them is my SQL server on-prem. So this is my SQL server that I've set up with the required configurations, and we have some database installed on it. So I'll go ahead and connect to this server just for us to see what we have in it. So I'll click on connect, and I'm going to be connecting using session manager. I will click on connect, and then it's going to connect to the instance. I'm going to switch user to Ubuntu, and I'm going to log in into MySQL. And here I will just say MySQL -u, which is user. The user here is a DB admin. That is the user I set. Then -p. -p mean password. So if I click enter now, it's going to ask me for password, and I'm going to put the password. I think that is wrong. I will type it again. Okay, say access deny. Let me clear again, maybe. I'll just clear my screen, and I will log in again. Okay, DB admin. I think that is correct. I will click enter, and I will I think, okay, now I'm logging into the database. I will clear the screen, and then what we have there, I will do show databases. And so these are the databases that we have there. We have about 1, 2, 3, 4, just about 4 databases that have been created. And let me see if I do HR. Let's do that. Let's say use HR. That is one of the HR records. Is one of the database. Okay. And then let's see the tables that we have. So tables. So these are all the tables that we have in this database. Let's see if we can see some of the data that we have there. Let's look at employee. So let's say select from employees. So these are the table. These are all the employees that are there. So this is just to show you that we have some, database and tables already installed on our on-prem database. So it is this data that we want to move to our RDS Aurora MySQL compatible. Now, how do we do that? Now let me take us to our RDS MySQL. So I'm going to come here and type RDS, and I'm just going to open that in another tab. And I'm going to show you what we have done. So in the database, if I click on dashboard and I click on database, so I already have this database created. This is a database cluster with one instance. And you can see it is an Aurora MySQL database. Okay, and we just have one writer instance. So we want to move our on-prem data or database into this Aurora database. So this is going to be the target database, while our MySQL on the EC2 machine will be the source database. So what we have to do now is we are going to jump onto DMS and begin the migration. Now, before we do that, let us go ahead and connect to our RDS in the AWS cloud, just to show or to let you know that at this point it is what? It is empty. So let me go onto my database, and I want to connect using a particular tool called Sqlectron. Okay, Sqlectron is a database connector. Okay, I think I have it here. Let me see. Sqlectron. Okay, it's right here. Or Sqlectron. Sorry, Sqlectron. So this is a SQL client that you can use to connect to your SQL database. So I'm just going to remove all this so that we can start from beginning. So now I'm going to click on add server. I want to add my database now. Now, what is the name of my database? I'll just call it the same name that I have here, which is my Aurora database. I will move the cluster. I'll just come here and I will paste it. I will remove the cluster and I'll just call it Aurora MySQL database target. Okay, I don't want to call it target. MySQL database. Let me just call it this way. And what is the server address? The server address is the endpoint of your Aurora database. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to click on you can access that in two ways. It is either you click directly on the cluster, and in the cluster, you're going to have two endpoints. You can see this is what? This is the writer endpoint, and this is the reader endpoint. You can take either of them. But because you want to write into it, we're going to be going with the writer database. However, if you don't want to go that, you can just click on this directly, and it's going to give you the endpoint. Okay? It's going to give you what? The endpoint. And this is the endpoint here. I can copy it, and I will go to my connector, and I'll paste this. It's asking me to select type. What is the type? It is MySQL. I'll collect MySQL, and immediately the port is filled by default. Now, what is the username and password? If you come here to my database and you go to, I think, configuration, is that correct? Or let me see, it's connectivity. Configuration. So you will see where the username and password is. Okay, it's here. If you click here and you click on configuration, then you will see this is the username, admin, and I know what the password is. So I'm going to go back to my Sqlectron now. The username is admin, and the password, I know that. I'm going to put it, and I'm going to click on test connection. And you can see now the connection is successful. So I can now go ahead and save. So if I go ahead and save now, I can now click on connect. So this is going to connect me to my database. As you can see, the database is completely empty. There's nothing here. If you click on information schema, there's nothing. You can see everything is grayed out. If I click on MySQL, everything is grayed out. You can see I can't touch anything here. These are just by default. All these are something that you have by default. So you can see it is written there, engine, this is default. And if you click on any other thing here, you can see they are all empty. We don't have anything here. So we want to move our database into this platform. So I'm just going to close all of this. Okay. And we are going to go back to our, so this is what we have now. Now, let us go back to our AWS console, and we are going to go back to our DMS. So we are in DMS now. So the first thing we want to create is to create our provision instance, which is also called, in the previous console, it is called replication instance. So now, before we also move ahead, let me quickly show you that I've created some security group. Let me go back to EC2, and I'm going to go to security group. I'm going to open that in another tab, and I'm going to show you. So I've created 3 security groups, and this security group is this. One is the DMS replication instance group. And if you click on this security group, if you look at it here, it has an inbound rule that is empty, but it has an outbound rule that accepts. If you look at it here, the outbound rule is accepting connection to port 306 from my SQL server. So it's going to allow connectivity from both the endpoint of your on-prem and also your the one in the cloud. So your DMS, which is the central, if you look at it from what we explained at that time, the DMS is in the center of the source database and the target database. So you must allow your security group to allow communication both from the source database and the the target database. So I'm going to edit this one. We don't need it. This is for SQL. So I'm going to change it back to, I'll just change this back to my Aurora. Yeah, this is what I did before. So it's still my Aurora. Okay, I'll just save it. So, and if you look at it now, this is what I want to explain. If you look at the security group, let me show you again. If I select it and I come here, you will see that it's allowing connection from MySQL on-prem and Aurora. That is very important to enable you to connect from your DMS to both the source IP and the destination IP. Also, what are the other security group that I have? I also have a security group for our on-prem. This is my on-prem. If you look at it, I have a security group that allow port 33C, okay, which is the port for MySQL. Also, I have another security group, which is for the Aurora MySQL, which is this one, RDS Aurora. And what does that one allow? It also allow port 336. Okay, so we need to know all of this. So I'm going to go back to my DMS. And so the first thing we're going to do now is to create the replication instance, which is also called provisioned instance. So I'll click on provision instance and I will click on create replication instance. And what is the name here? I'll just call it DMS replication instance or server instance server. And the name here is optional. I'm going to leave it. Description is optional. I'm also going to leave it. I'm going to go with T3 medium. I will leave this as 50. The engine version as 3.5. That is fine. Which 3.54, which is the latest. High availability, that is not needed at the moment. I'm going to leave this one as IPv4. And of course, we're going to leave the VPC as default because that is where our database is hosted. And the replication subnet also, as it is, public access must be checked so that we'll be able to connect. Then let us see what we have under advanced settings, availability zone, never mind. VPC security group. Now we need to select our security group. So we select the security that I've created, which is DMS replication instance. I will select that and then we'll leave the KMS as it is. Maintenance, nothing to change there. This is the maintenance window. Kerberos, that is fine. Tag, that is fine. Then we'll click on create replication instance. So it's asking me for, okay, let's choose def. That is fine. And let's click on create replication instance. Now this is going to take a couple of minutes. Usually it takes between 5 to 8 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video and when the creation is complete, we'll come back and continue with our process. So welcome back. After about 10 to 12 minutes, the replication instance was created. And the next thing we're going to do now is to create the endpoints. We decide to create the provision instance first because the endpoint needs to connect to the replication instance. So I will click on endpoint. You can see now here, this is the replication instance, and you can see it is created successfully. So we'll go to endpoint. I will click on create endpoint. So we'll start by creating the source endpoint. And we're going to give it a name and identifier. This can be any name. So I'll just call it source endpoint. We'll call it source endpoint. Okay. The friendly RON is optional. I'm going to leave it. So the engine is what? MySQL. So I will take MySQL. And it's asking us for the authentication method. Of course, we sign in with username and password. So I'm going to select provide access information manually. And it's asking me for the server name. The server name is the endpoint or the public IP of the on-prem database. So I'm going to go into my EC2 machine. I'm going to select my server and I'm going to copy either the public IP or the public DNS. So either you copy the public IP or the public DNS. I like to use the DNS, so I'll copy the DNS. I will go back to my database and I'm going to paste it as the server name. And in the port, I'm going to put the port of the MySQL, which is 3306. And what is the username? That is the username I use to connect to my database, which is dbadmin. what is the password. I know the password and I'm going to put it. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to leave this as it is. Endpoint, we leave it as it is. KMS. Here we may say, okay, full. Let's leave it as full. And then we are going to test connections. Okay, we're going to test connection, and if there's any error, we'll fix it. So before we click on test connection, we need to select which of the instances. You can see now it has automatically selected the DMS replication instance that we have just created. Okay, so let us click on run test. Okay, oh, okay, CA required. Oh, I forgot here. Let's click on none and let's run test. So it said your endpoint is testing now. So let us see. It's either if it is failed or it connects. Okay. While this one is testing, let us go ahead and create our target endpoint. This could take a couple of minutes. If it fails, we'll fix the problem. So I will go to, I'm going to duplicate this. I will duplicate this tab, duplicate, and I will go ahead and create my target. So this one is still running. So I'll go and create target now. Click on target endpoint. Now, since your target endpoint is hosted on AWS, you can just come here and select database instance. So it's going to populate the information by you. So I can just click on select RDS, and then I'll be able to select my endpoint, which is my target endpoint. Sorry, my target database. I'm going to skip the name. Of course, it is Aurora MySQL, and I'm going to be providing the password. You can see now automatically it has filled the endpoint for me. It has filled the port. So, and of course the username has filled it. I'll just put the password. I've put the password and full. We can change this one to full too, or we can say it's required if we want. We don't want anything here. So I'll go ahead here, endpoint. We don't need anything here. Tags, no tags. So click on this one, will select it, and I will click on run test. Yeah, this is correct. I think I choose it. The certificate error parameter is required with the request SSL full. So what did I do? Full. Okay, let's use CA. It's going to ask us for CA if we use CA. Yeah, so let's select none maybe. And let's see. Okay, so this one is testing. Let's go back here. So this actually failed. And let us see what the error is. It says test endpoint failed. ODBC high. Navigate this. Connect to MySQL. And this. So I know what the problem is. So if you see it's unable to connect to this endpoint just because of one issue, if you go to our instance, okay, let's go to the instance that where we host our MySQL, and I'm going to close this connection, okay, and I'm going to go back to MySQL. Let me close this. Go back to MySQL, and I'm going to connect again. I want to show you something. I will click on connect. So I'm going to switch user, sudo su Ubuntu, Ubuntu. Okay. Now there's a configuration file in which the binding address has been bound to the local IP, and we want to connect from the cloud. So we need to allow this IP to communicate from everywhere. So I'm going to go and edit this file. If you like, you can use VI or you can use Nano. Let me use Nano. I think Nano is cheap. So you can use nano, and we go to this file /etc slash MySQL. I think MySQL.conf. I think yes, .conf d into MySQL.cnf. Correct. So this is the file. So if you go in here, oh sorry, I have to put sudo so that I'll be able to write. So I'll just do Control X. So I will do sudo so that I can get as a sudo nano. No, I think there's a problem. Just a minute, please. Okay, I will just clear the screen and I will run the command again. I think it's this. Okay, so we are going to look for bind address, and we are going to change the bind address to allow. You can see at this point, it is just bind to the local IP. So we are going to change it to allow communication from everywhere. So we'll do 0.0.0, then we'll do Control X to change. Y, I will click enter. Then we need to what? Restart. We need to restart the our MySQL. So that would be sudo systemctl restart MySQL. So we have restarted MySQL now. Then we're going to try again. We'll go back and we'll try to connect again. So I will come back here and I will run test again. Okay. So let me go back to this other one. You can see for the second one, it is successful. For the for our Aurora endpoint, the connection is successful. So we can go ahead now and create the endpoint. This successful connection shows that your endpoint is able to communicate with your DMS replication instance. So we'll click on create. So it's going to be creating. And let's go back here and let's watch. Maybe it's going to be successful. We're going to give it a few minutes. Okay, still taking a little bit of time. Let me refresh and see what we have. I will refresh it. Okay, I'll click on test connection. Oh, no record. Okay, we can go to endpoint, no problem. So we can go to endpoint here. These are the two endpoints. This is the Aurora, the one in the cloud. You can select it. You can check connection. The connection is successful. Let's go to the other endpoint, which is this one, and let's click on connection. Still fail. So test connection because I don't know if that works. Run. It's testing. Let us see it. If it fails again, we will troubleshoot. So I will just pause the video, and when it is completed, I will let you know. Okay, now it is done and it is also successful. So if you look at the both of the endpoint now, this is the source endpoint. You should check connection. It is successful and it is created. You can see we have the source endpoint. And if you go to the target endpoint and you check connection, it's also successful. So the next thing and the final thing we're going to do now, if you remember, if we go to our Blackboard, we explain those are the things that we needed. We have created the endpoint, okay, both endpoint, and we have created the replication instance. So the next thing to do now is to create the tags. And if you go back to the diagram, we have the source IP, we have the sorry, we have the source database, we have the target database, we have the two endpoint, this one and this one. We have the instance. Now we want to create the tags. So we'll go ahead and create the tags. So you can see it is right here, tags. So just click on tags. I'll click on create tags. That one's very simple. So identifier, you can give it any name. Just call it DMS migration or replication tags. And then I'm going to leave the name friendly. Source database, which is the one on-prem. If you click it, you can see source endpoint. Target endpoint, that is the one we are migrating to, which is the Aurora. You select it. Provision, of course, that is what we use. We are not using serverless. And it's asking what is the provision instance. That is the instance that we just created. We'll select it. And we have three options here: migrate only, migrate and replicate, then replicate only. If you migrate, it's going to take the existing data from your source data and move it to the target data. But if you migrate and replicate, it's going to move the data, and any changes that happens will also be captured. Why? If you replicate only, it will only copy the change. It will only copy the change. So we are going to do migrate only. We're going to go with wizard. Now we have the table preparation here. We have three options: do nothing, drop table on target, or truncate. Do nothing means this is used if you are, if you don't want your database to carry out any action apart from transferring the data. Why? For drop table means, see, the DMS will go into the destination table and remove all the data, remove all the table, and create a fresh table. Why truncate means it's going to keep the table, but only remove the data. So, but since we are creating a new one, we are going to go with a drop table. So it's going to create a new schema. So we'll leave this as it is. Let's use validation. Validation will compare the source data from the with the target data to let you know if it is fine. It is always very good to enable logs in the CloudWatch, and then we'll just leave every other thing as it is. Let's look at advanced setting. If there's anything we need to change there, nothing. Turn on assessment. That is fine. That may fail anyway. Create another bucket. That is okay. What other IAM role for S3 bucket that will be created. IAM role name that will be also be created by this. And then we'll just leave everything as it is. And let us see advanced setting. Nothing to change. We'll just go ahead and click on. Now it's asking us migration task start of configuration. So this is asking you if you want your migration to pick up immediately you create the task, or you want to do it manually. Yeah, I want to do it manually. I want to do it by myself. In fact, in this option, we don't have option to change anything. So I will do it manually, and I will just go ahead and create task. Is there anything missing? Oh, we need to select rule. We need to select the rule. Have selection rule. Just use white card. What we use there is white card. So just leave it as it is and click on create. So it's going to create the replication tags, and when we start it, the migration process will begin. So I'm going to pause this video, and when the task is created, we will go ahead and start. So the table is in progress. You can see it's still in assessing. Of course, we got a warning here, but that's okay. It's just telling us that there's a particular step called pre-migration assessment. So it says cannot create associated pre-migration. That's fine. It's just a warning. And the application task is still being created successfully, and the assessing is continuing. And if we click on it, let us see if we have any information. Okay, the latest pre-migration assessment is done. Let us see if we have any information there. And of course, one failed, two warning, system passed. So if we click that, it's just telling us the process. Okay, this is the process. One warning, this failed. Validate if the timeout value, okay, then all of this pass. This one is skipped, and we have so many of the information. It's copying the table over. This one is still in process. Okay, let's go back, and this one is still in process. 16 pass, 8 skipped. Let's look at the table statistics. Nothing yet. The monitoring, we're going to see CloudWatch here showing us some of the graphs. So let's give this for some time. It's still loading the database. This is the source database. This is the target database. So now let us go ahead and start our task. So this is the task now. I will click on it and I will go to action and I will click on start. Okay. Because it says, if you look at it, it tells you start required. And don't forget, I when I was configuring it, I says I want to start it manually. So if not, immediately you created it, it will have just started by itself. But I want us to start it manually. So I'll come here and click on start. And I'll click on start. So it is starting. And then if you go to table, we'll begin to see something coming up here. Okay, table mapping. In few minutes, we'll be able to see something. Yeah, the task replication is being started. So let us see what we have. This the details. It's telling us the source engine is MySQL. The target engine is Amazon Aurora MySQL. It tells us about the instances, the security group, and the VPCs. Okay, so it's still in full operation. It's still in full load in progress. Let's see table. Okay, you can see there are a lot of error in the table. That is fine. If you click on the log, it's going to take you to CloudWatch. I can see what the problem is. Some of them pass, some didn't pass. We will see what happens at the end of the whole thing. Monitoring. We don't have anything. Okay, yet we don't have anything. Um, Table mapping rule, transformation rule. That is okay. We already checked this. And don't forget all those 8 that was skipped. 16 went through. If you come to your table now, okay, you can see all those one that failed. It's now completed. So we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 here. Let us see. It's loading with error. That is fine. 100% is loaded. And let us see what happened until this is completed, and we'll go and change. We'll go and check our table. Nothing to check in detail. It's showing error again, so that is fine. Okay, you can see now. Okay, this is done. This is successfully done. It loaded with error, of course, because not everything passed. That's why it's showing the error. The table actually have some error. Let us see. Full loaded 129, 680. False. We have validation pending. Okay. Yeah. The summary, zero load, system table completed. So system table were copied over and system table were validated. Let's click on those table. And these are the tables that were copied over. Okay. Salary, shipping. And if you don't forget, in my former connection, we have all of that. So now, these are the table that were, were copied. Out of 148 table, some failed. 16 were validated. If you see those ones that are validated, they are all showing up here. So now let's go back to our Sqlectron. And now let us refresh. I'm going to close this. I'm going to refresh. Remember, we don't have any of this before. So let me go ahead and refresh. So I will just go over here to view and I will reload. Let us see what happened after we reload it. I will click on connect again. And you can see now that we have more than what we had before. Before now, we were only having 4 of them, but now we have the H record, We have the information schema, we have inventory management, we have sale data and all that. And inside the HR, I think we have employee there. So inside the HR, we have employee. And you can see we have our database copied over. And if you don't forget, I show you this database the other time. So we have a lot, and for attendance too, we have employee ID for department, we have column and all that. So now we have been able to successfully copy our database from on-prem onto our AWS RDS Aurora using database management service. This is very handy. A lot of time in my day-to-day activities, I get a ticket to migrate database maybe once in a while, and sometimes a database is migrated and there's an issue, and you want to fix it. We troubleshoot and fix them. So all the database has been copied over, and then we can begin to check. You ask your client to check if all the data are correct. And for example, now if I execute this now, um, it's just giving us first 1,000. Let me see, maybe if you give me first 10, if I execute, okay, you can see just give me first 10. If I want you to just give me first 5, you can see now it's just giving me just first 5 because I'm doing it from employee. Let me see other things that are present. Inside HR tables, we have employee and we have departments. Let me check it. Let me change to department. Maybe we have any record in department. Department. Oh, let's execute. Okay, no result in departments. Anyway, that is what I intend to bring to you today. It is a very long video, but I hope you enjoy it. Please, if you do, kindly subscribe or comment. And if you have any question, please ask, and I will do my best to respond to your question. I hope you like it, and I will see you in another video. Thank you.